Grow, Sell, and Retire is the podcast for the lazy overachiever. B.D. Dalton, author of True Gravity and Grow, Sell, and Retire, is here to give you his 25 years of secrets, tips, and systems to take your business to the next level. This is your chance to find out what is working in sales, marketing, and running your business. If you stop learning, you stop earning. Now, here's your host, BD, with today's GSR podcast.
Hey everybody, BD Dalton here, Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast, and I'm here with Nir Eyal, and we're going to talk about distraction. We're going to talk about getting attracted, distracted, but Nir, so thanks very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So you've written 2 books, award-winning books. First one, Hooked. Walk us through Hook, really kind of the basic concept and why you actually did that.
Yeah, so Hooked was about how to build habit-forming products, and the book is about how to build healthy habits in people's lives. As people who are designing technology find that there's a lot of power in using technology to help change our lives. And so the idea here is, how can we steal the secrets of Facebook and Google and these companies who are so good at changing human behavior? How can we use those principles of consumer psychology to help people build healthy habits in their lives? So in the past 5 years that Hooked has been published, companies like Kahoot have gotten kids hooked to learning in the classroom. It's the world's largest educational software. They use the Hook model. Fitbod gets people hooked to exercising in the gym. They use the Hook model. I've worked with the New York Times to get people hooked to reading the news every day. So the idea here really is to use the same psychology that was perfected in Silicon Valley to help make all sorts of products and services more engaging, more habit-forming, to help people live better lives.
Awesome. So then you moved on to now we're hooked on these things. Now how do we make ourselves indistractable? How do we you came across this now what's the premise behind Indistractable? So now we've got Hooked, now we're Indistractable.
Right. So Indistractable is, if Hooked is about how to build good habits, Indistractable is about how to break bad habits. And so you really want someone who understands how this stuff is designed, an industry insider, to kind of show you the Achilles heel of how to put distraction in its place. That I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of these books that say, the problem is technology is melting your brain. Technology is doing this. Technology is doing that. And the solution is what? Stop using it? I mean, really? That's the solution? Stop using it? Go on a 30-day detox? Seriously? I'm going to get fired. That's not going to work. And so I was just really frustrated with these books that, one, either vilify technology, as every generation has. I mean, it's such a predictable script that people use these days of, it's hijacking your brain, it's addicting everyone. It's so predictable. It's the same stupid moral panic that we have that we have gone through every generation. My generation, it was Super Mario Brothers and Dungeons and Dragons, and before that it was rock and roll and rap music and the radio, and I mean all the way back to the novel. All of these things were supposed to melt our brains and make us addicted to something. And it turns out that those fears are never realized. That of course some people do get addicted to all sorts of things, right? But just like some people get addicted to alcohol and become alcoholics, not everybody does. And so it's really important to understand, how to put these technologies in their place if we're all so scared of them these days, without vilifying them and without using them to our advantage. And so the real point of Indistractable is not just to focus on technology, because the fact of the matter is, distraction is much, much bigger than technology. I talk about how, distraction comes in all sorts of different forms. Plato talked about this problem 2,500 years ago. Like 2,500 years ago, he was saying how distracting the world was. And he asked this question, why do we do things against our better interest? And so that's really the question I answer. So it's not just about tech distraction. Anything can be a distraction, right? If you watch too much TV, read too much news, work too much, you call it. There's all kinds of things can become distractions. And so the idea here is, why do we do that? Why do we get distracted these days? I think that the problem is no longer not knowing what to do. These days, we all basically know how to do what it is we want to do. Who doesn't know how to basically lose weight? I mean, it's not rocket science. We all basically know that chocolate cake is less healthy than a salad. So then why don't we eat healthy? We all know we should exercise more. Why don't we? We all know we should get to bed on time. But why aren't we? We know we should be fully present with our kids, with our loved ones. But why do we get distracted? So that's really the key question that I wanted to answer is if you want to have the kind of life that you love, that you deserve, you don't only have to do the right things, you have to make sure you prevent yourself from doing the wrong things. And so that's why I really wanted to write a book about how to have this, what I call the skill of the century, the power to be indistractable.
That's awesome. And it's very difficult. I mean, and like you said, it's the TV, the phone, the iPhone, the computer, everything else, and then life in general. So I was kind of, after I read both books and went through them, kind of summarized them, brought them back into my head, I kind of saw you as you kind of went to the Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker sides of things. I know they kind of are on not polar opposites, but you were saying, okay, well, you can hook people here, but now how do you get unhooked? So which one was more fun to explore? Which one kind of drew you in?
Yeah, I mean, I get the Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker metaphor, but life's not so simple, right? It's not black and white.
Yeah.
We like things to be black and white. That's why we like Star Wars, and go back to the Bible, same story, right? Good versus evil. But that's not real life, right? Real life is never so black and white. It's gray, right? How do you say that a technology is evil when it connects us to our friends and loved ones? That's kind of hard to do, right? Yeah. Are there bad aspects? Of course. So I think the best way to think about this is the quote from Paul Virilio. Paul Virilio said, when you invent the ship, you invent the shipwreck. So no doubt there are some bad aspects to these new technologies. But what do we do, right? What do we stop sailing ships? No. When was the last time you heard about a shipwreck? Never. Why? Did we stop sailing ships? No, we made ships better. And so what human beings have always done is two things. We adopt new technologies to fix the last generation of technology, right? That's how ships got better, is because we made them better. We improved them through new technologies. And then what we need to do is not only do we adopt new technologies, we adapt our behavior. And so that's exactly what we see happening. And I think the good news is we've been here before. So I remember as a kid growing up in the 1980s, I'm not sure how old you are, but when I grew up, I remember very clearly that when people came over to my house, when my parents' friends came over and they had a dinner party or something, people just smoked in our living room. Like that was just what people did. And you laugh and it sounds ridiculous. That was acceptable behavior up until just a few years ago, right? Just a few decades ago. People did that. They would walk into your house, and I remember we had ashtrays all over our house. My parents didn't smoke, and yet we had ashtrays because that was expected of you as a good host. You let people smoke in your house. Can you imagine if someone came to your house and smoked in your living room? That'd be ridiculous, right? You kick them out. Not anymore.
Social norms have changed, man.
Exactly. So we adopted these new social norms. If someone smoked in your living room, you'd kick them out. They wouldn't be your friend anymore. But I remember when my mom got up the guts at the time to tell somebody, and I remember this super clearly, she told someone, we are non-smokers. Please don't smoke in our house. Please go outside. She lost friends over that. People thought she was so weird. What are you freaking out about, right? What's the big deal? And I think that is exactly what is going on with our technology these days, that we are learning the appropriate time and place to use these technologies. And I'm not one of these Luddites that say, oh, stop using it. It's melting your brain. No, we just need to use it in the right way, which includes not using it in social circumstances like, going to a dinner party.
Yeah, no, it makes lots of sense. So, and you're using it now not only to improve people's lives, but also their work lives. So you talk about some good stuff, which we'll go into later, but really, is it hard in today's world where negative news sells? I mean, every time you turn on the news, it's about, over here, it's about Brexit. Over there, it's about Trump. Or over here, it's about Trump. Whatever it is, or President Trump.
Everywhere it's Trump.
Everything it's just happening and happening and happening. Are we scared, or are we designed as human animals not to want to succeed, but to not really want to get there because then we've reached a point? The point that's the nirvana of what we're working at, that we could use technology for, or not being distracted.
Tell me more there. I'm not sure if I got the point around. There.
The point is we're talking about being indistractable, and people, like with diets, people know not to eat more candy bars or do that, but they don't do it because then they might get to their ultimate fitness, or they would never reach it, so they're not going to just do those little steps to get there. Are we scared of the success factor? I think that
that's an interesting question. I haven't been asked that, and I guess deep down, I'm a little bit worried. It'll be really interesting to see because I've written a book here that took me 5 years of research and writing.
Yes.
Not only did I write a book that is backed by peer-reviewed studies, right? This isn't one of those self-help books that says, oh, I took cold showers at 4 a.m. every day and now look at me. No. This is peer-reviewed research, right? This is backed by very good, reputable journals. But that wasn't good enough. I also wanted stuff that actually was practical and works in my life. And so it had to be at the intersection of that Venn diagram of stuff that really does work and is research-backed. So I'm giving people a book here that is a culmination of 5 years of research to tell you exactly what to do, right? To get back control of your life, to spend your time the way you want according to your values. All you have to do is read it and implement just a few of the techniques. I'm not even saying you have to do everything, right? You can take just one or two of these techniques and start implementing them right away. Now, your question is, do people actually want to do that?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that, frankly, because I'll be honest with you. I see a lot of people who like to complain about a problem without doing anything about the problem.
Yep.
Because that's really easy, right? It's really easy to say, oh my God, fast food is so delicious. They make me eat it all the time.
Yep.
Right? Or TV is so entertaining. I want to watch it all the time. Facebook is so engaging. I want to check it all the time. Well, yeah, newsflash. Of course, these things are designed to be engaging. Do you want them not? Hey, food manufacturers, can you please, McDonald's, make your Big Mac not delicious anymore? Okay, that'd be great. No, Netflix, can you make crappy shows that people don't want to watch anymore? That'd be wonderful. That's ridiculous. It's not going to happen, guys.
Yeah.
So why would we hold our breath and wait? We're going to suffocate, right? So let's do something about it right now. And we can do stuff about it. It's not that it's that difficult. There's some things we can do right this minute. Now, a little disclaimer. Some people are pathologically addicted, okay? Just like, some people get addicted to alcohol. Clearly, not everyone who has a beer with dinner is an alcoholic, right? It's a very small percentage of people who drink alcohol, are actually alcoholics. There are some people, there's a very high comorbidity with obsessive compulsive disorder. We know that those two conditions go hand in hand frequently. But for the vast majority of people, it's not a pathology. It's a distraction. It's a behavior, and behaviors can change.
And so let's work on that. So if we're going to become indistractable, so if we're moving towards the side where we're getting rid of things or creating good habits, what are a couple of things that listeners can do to change some habits today, or to make it easier for them to change their habits?
Yeah. So there's 4 steps to becoming indistractable. The first step is to master the internal triggers. So here's the thing. If we want to answer Plato's question from 2,500 years ago, Plato asked, why do we do things against our better interest, right? He called it akrasia. Why do we do things against our better interest? If we want to answer that question, we have to answer a more fundamental question, which is, why do we do anything and everything? What is the nature of human motivation? Most people will tell you that the reason people do things, do what they do, is about the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. This is called Freud's pleasure principle. Turns out that's wrong. It's not about the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain, at least not on the neurological level. In fact, the reality is, what's really going on is that it's pain all the way down. That what drives all human behavior is not the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. It is all about the avoidance of discomfort. And so how do we know this? Well, think about it physiologically. If you go outside and it's cold, you put on a jacket because being cold doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. What happens when you go back inside? Now it's hot and you're starting to get sweaty under your coat. You take it off because feeling too hot is uncomfortable. If you are hungry, your brain sends hunger pangs. And that doesn't feel good, so you eat. And then if you eat too much, you feel stuffed. That's uncomfortable. What do? You stop eating. So physiologically, this is obvious, right? This is called a homeostatic response. Whenever we feel discomfort, that's how the brain gets us to do stuff. The same is true psychologically. That when we feel lonely, we check Facebook or Instagram. When we are uncertain, we Google. When we are bored, we check stock prices, sports scores, the news, Pinterest, Reddit. All of these products and services cater to uncomfortable emotional sensations. So that means If all human behavior is prompted by a desire to escape discomfort, that means that time management is pain management. And that is the most important realization, that distraction starts from within. That if we don't come to grips with this fact, that we are looking for escape from psychological discomfort, something will always distract us. So that is the Achilles heel of any potential distraction, is understanding that all it is your brain telling you, I don't want to feel this thing right now. Get me out of here. Do something to make me not feel lonely, uncertain, stressed, anxious, whatever it might be. Do the quickest thing to give me relief. And so your question needs to be, how do I deal with that discomfort in a healthier manner? And I will show you exactly how to do that in the book. I tell you how to master those internal triggers so that when we feel them, we don't get contemptuous. We don't tell ourselves, oh, there's something wrong with us. We don't say, oh, it's the big bad tech companies. None of that shit works. Instead, what we do is we utilize that discomfort. We harness it to power us towards traction rather than distraction.
Very cool. Okay, so we've mastered triggers. What's number 2?
The next step is to make time for traction. So the opposite of distraction is not focus. The opposite of distraction is traction. They both come from the same Latin root, trahare, which means to pull. And you'll notice both words come from the same, end with the same 6 letters, action, A-C-T-I-O-N. So traction is any action that pulls you towards what you want to do, things that you plan to do with intent. And I argue anything can be distraction and anything can be traction. So if you planned to work on a big project, but then you start checking email, well, you got distracted. And just because it's email doesn't make it okay, right? Yeah. That's called pseudo work, right? That anything that you didn't plan to do with your time is a distraction by definition. Now, anything can also be traction. If you want to spend a couple hours watching something on Netflix, there's nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with watching a football game or playing a video game or I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do with your time, as long as you plan ahead for it, enjoy it without guilt. Right? So I'm not one of these techno critics that says, oh, it's melting your brain, stop doing it. No, come on, that's silly. There's nothing wrong with these pastimes as long as you do it on your schedule as opposed to the tech maker's schedule. So I want you to plan time for the stuff that used to distract you. So if you found that you constantly got distracted by Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, whatever it might be, I don't know what that distraction might be, make time for it in your day, but make it explicit. Put time in your calendar for that, as well as put time in your calendar for living out your other values. If exercise is important to you, do you have that time on your calendar? If meditation or prayer or whatever it might be is important to you, is that on your calendar? Is time with your friends or your family important to you? Put that on your calendar. If concentrating at work, if having focused time is important to you at work, is that on your calendar? Right? And so when we make one of these time box calendars, and I'll actually send you a link for the show notes. I built a tool. It's totally free. You don't have to sign up for anything. Very simple tool. The idea here is that you want to have a template for your week so that for the first time, you will know what is traction and what is distraction for every minute of your day. Anything that's on your calendar is traction. Anything else is a distraction. And this is a life-changing practice. Believe me, it is unbelievably effective. And so when we do this, not only does it change our home life, it also changes our work life, right? Having this time box calendar is a very, very important step to making sure you can live out your values and avoid distraction.
Awesome. So we've now done make time for traction. What's next?
So the next step is to hack back the external triggers. So just like we have the internal triggers, the triggers that start from within us, we also have the external triggers, the pings, the dings, the rings, all of these things around us that can lead us towards either traction or distraction. So if a ping on your phone tells you, hey, it's time to go work out or time for that business meeting, that's great. That's leading you towards traction. But if it's a ping or ding on your phone while you're in a meeting or while you're with your family and now it led you to do something you didn't want to do, well, now it's a distraction. So the idea here is to hack back the external triggers that don't serve you, whether that's on your phone, on your computer, group chat, email. I tell you how to hack back these external triggers in all these various environments.
Very cool. So then a lot of people don't understand those things, or like the sleep time, do not disturb on your iPhone or whichever your phone is. it's people don't understand that, and those simple life hacks can change your world. With that, how long they say it takes to get back to traction again? Is it 20 minutes or something to get back into full flow of whatever you were doing?
Yeah, it can take quite a while, right? So one, the adjusting the notification settings and computer settings, that's kind of kindergarten stuff. I mean, I cover it in the book in just a couple pages for those who don't know. Turns out 2/3 of people never change their notification settings. Let me say that again. 2/3 of people never change their stupid notifications. Seriously?
Yeah.
How can we complain that technology is so addictive when you haven't turned on those stupid Facebook notifications? Why do you need to know every time there's a news alert from the BBC? Why is that serving you? It's not. Turn them off, for God's sakes. But that's easy stuff. The more pernicious distractions are the ones we don't see, right? We don't pay attention to. For example, your colleague stopping by your desk and saying, "Hey, mate, can I talk to you for a quick second?"
Yep.
Right? Or let me tell you this office gossip, right? I just want to tell you a quick thing when you're in the middle of a project. And so we can hack back those external triggers as well. If you work in an open floor plan office, you know that those distractions can be maddening. And they are, I think, even more pernicious than the obvious distractions, right? Everyone can see if you're putzing around on Facebook or something at work or watching a YouTube video. People can hear that. But we don't pay attention to these external triggers that come from other people. So I tell you how to hack back those as well.
Cool. Okay. So now we're hacking back. And now what's the fourth one?
The fourth and final step is to prevent distraction with pacts. And the way this works, the idea here is that what we want to do is to make what's called a pre-commitment, is to plan ahead for when we are likely to get distracted so that we don't succumb to distraction when the time comes. So one of the ways, ironically, is to use technology to prevent getting distracted by technology. So I tell you all these tools and resources that you can use to make sure that we make these pacts with ourselves. Let me give you one example. So one app that I use almost every single day, my daughter loves it as well, is called Forest. And here's how Forest works. Every time you need to do focused work, you open the app, you dial in how much time you want to do focused work for, whether it's, working on a big project or being with your family, whatever it might be. As soon as you click plant, there's a little button that says plant, the little virtual tree is planted. Now, if you pick up the phone and do anything with it, the virtual tree dies. Okay? It's just a stupid little virtual tree, right? Who cares? But it's enough of a reminder to say, oh, no, I made a pact with myself. I made a promise with myself that I am going to focus right now. I don't want to pick up the phone. And so it's kind of like a gamified approach to helping you stay on track. And it's totally free. There are thousands of these tools. I tell you all these different tools, my favorite tools that I use myself to hack back Facebook, to hack back YouTube, all these things that you can do that, guess what? These tech makers can't do anything about. If you use these techniques, you will piss them off because you will hack back these technologies in a way that helps you enter into these pacts, these pre-commitments in a way that they don't like, but will help you stay focused. Now, the one other technique I want to mention here that falls under this fourth technique of making a pre-commitment is called making an identity pact. This is fascinating research that comes to us from the psychology of religion. That we know when people have an identity, a moniker, something they call themselves, they become much more likely to stay on track. So when you call yourself a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, whatever it might be, even a vegetarian, you are much more likely to abide by that identity. So think about it in the case of a vegetarian. A vegetarian doesn't wake up every day and say, I wonder if I'm going to have a hamburger. No, I'm not a vegetarian, but a vegetarian would say, I am a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. So they don't have to use up any self-control or willpower or, use any of that stuff because they have shaped an identity in advance. And we can do the same thing. So that is why this book is called Indistractable. So this is your new moniker. Now that you've heard this methodology, everyone listening, you are indistractable. You can call yourself already today, right now, indistractable because you are the kind of person who strives to do what they say they are going to do. You live with personal integrity. Now, you're not using all the techniques in the book. That's okay. But you are already indistractable because you are the kind of person who strives to do what they say they're going to do. Now, this also comes with, when people are of a particular faith, many times they do unusual behavior. They wear unusual clothes. They have unusual diets that are different from the norm. And they put up with that stuff for a higher purpose, for a higher calling. And that's exactly what's going on with people who are indistractable. Is it a little strange that you're the kind of person who doesn't use their cell phone at the dinner table? Is it a little strange you don't respond to every text message and email within 30 seconds? Is it a little strange that you tell your office colleagues that you have time in your day to do focused work? Yeah, it's a little strange. But just as it was a little strange 30 years ago when people used to smoke in each other's living rooms and my mom said, please leave because I don't want a smoker in my house while you're smoking, so please go outside. She lost friends over that, right? But now it's become the norm. And so that's what this book is all about, is finding this generation of people who are changing society, who are helping society inoculate themselves with what we call social antibodies to help us overcome these behaviors by proudly declaring, I am indistractable.
That's awesome. So usually I ask people what type of tech they're using to change their world right now, but we've gone through a lot of your tech. So what are you reading right now? What's on the bookshelf, or what are you listening to?
Yeah, so I've struggled with my sleep a lot. I'm not sure if any of your listeners have had a problem with this, but I always have a couple books I'm reading. And one of the books that I always read, I don't have any screens in my bedroom, so I don't sleep next to my cell phone, but I do have an Amazon Kindle on my nightstand. And the reason I have it there is because I have found that reading a slightly boring book is an amazing sleep aid. And especially now the newer Kindles, they come with, they don't have any blue light. You can make it only use warm light. So you don't have, there's, I don't know, but the research isn't very good on this, but there's an idea that blue light keeps you up. Well, now the new Kindles actually come with no blue light. And so it's amazing. Like right now I'm reading a book called Our Man in Washington. It's the story of Richard Holbrooke. And it's interesting, but it's a little bit boring. And so it puts me to sleep like a light. It's great.
That's awesome.
It's a pretty good book too.
And so you're going through that. How about, and what are your plans for this year? What are you doing that's, you've written 2 books and you're working on companies all the time and helping them with their products. What's happening with you on a daily basis, or what are you doing for next year?
Yeah, so next year is really going to be promoting Indistractable. I really believe in the mission of helping the world become indistractable. That I think that naturally the world is going to become a more distracting place. If you think the world is distracting now, just wait a few years, right? When we get virtual reality and augmented reality, this trend isn't going backwards. If anything, the world is going to become more distracting. And so what I want to do is to help arm people with this ability to fight distraction in any form, not just on technological distraction, but, like you said, consuming too much news, watching too much sports, working too much. Any of these things can be potential distractions. So I want to arm people with the ability to decide what they want to do with their lives and hopefully help start this movement of people who are equipped to be indistractable. And I think there really is going to be a bifurcation between people who let their lives, their minds, their time be manipulated by others, and those who say, nope, I am indistractable. I do what I say I'm going to do.
Perfect. Where can we find out more about you?
Yeah, so my website is nirandfar.com. Nir is spelled like my first name, N-I-R. So that's N-I-R and far, nirandfar.com. And if you want more information on Indistractable, you can go to indistractable.com. There is a complimentary 80-page workbook. If you buy the book, it comes with a video course as well. You can enter your order number to get that as well. And that's all at Indistractable. That's spelled I-N, the word distract, A-B-L-E, indistractable.com.
Very cool. Okay. And then closing, we've given out huge amounts of value here. People have taken away the 4 steps, the 4.5 almost, with the pacts and the identity pact. If you were to give somebody one tip right now, what's that final tip?
All right. So if there's one insight, if you read the book or not, I don't care. But the one thing I want you to remember, write this down. The antidote to impulsiveness is forethought. Okay, remember that. The antidote to impulsiveness is forethought. That we as Homo sapiens have this amazing gift that no other animal on the face of the earth has, which is the ability to predict the future with greater fidelity than any other animal, right? We can predict what is going to happen. We can guess what's going to happen next. And so we should use that capability because of this ability that we have to see into the future. That means that with forethought, there is no distraction that we can't overcome, right? If we wait to the last minute, if the chocolate cake is on the fork on its way to your mouth, you're going to eat it. If the cigarette is lit and in your hand, you're going to smoke it. If your cell phone is on your nightstand and you're as far away from your phone as you are your lover, well, you're going to pick it up first thing in the morning. And so it's too late at that point. You have to plan ahead. And so the antidote to impulsiveness is forethought.
Awesome. Very cool. Nir Eyal, this has been fabulous talking to us about Indistractable. We really appreciate it. And thank you very much for coming on Grow, Sell, and Retire.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Grow, Sell, and Retire. For more information, tools, or to book one of our team members to work with your team, business, or to speak at your event or conference, visit bartdaltonconsulting.com or email contact@bartdaltonconsulting.com. Buy the book True Gravity on Amazon. If you want to work for the rest of your life, that is your business. If you don't, that is ours.